And I do have, I think I do. I just finished posting up downloading to YouTube and posting it on the child abuse course. So trying to keep up with that and get those up too. Okay. I'm just writing down. I think this is faster than. I think I may try hold on, I'm not recording. I've got to learn how to edit so y'all don't get all this extraneous stuff, you know, like me sort of talking to myself. That's bad. Oh, Jamie. All right. Okay, so I'm going to watch the clock too. So if I pause to write something down, it'll be that I'm adding names who may add late. Let me just tell you that one of the additional things I'm learning as we go, me anyway, is to make sure that I get everybody recorded. Since we're doing attendance, we're required to do attendance by 11. Oh, this is 9 o'clock, 9:15. So if you're not in class by 9:15, I think that's what we put up there. I might have put 9:20. Well, 9:20. Let me pull the file up and we'll verify it, okay? I'm not going to count attendance because I'm not going to stop and interrupt the class and delay and get off track, which I do because of letting people in. So if you're not here within 20 minutes of class starting, then I'm not gonna record your attendance. You just have to make sure you are on the next live event, either in person or on Zoom. And we know Thursdays are always on Zoom. So let me get back to where am I? There I am. Let's get to our course. And then I will, wait, did I hit record on that?
Yes, ma'am, it's recording right now.
Oh man, I did not want to do that till I was ready. Okay. Oh well, just got to figure out editing. I changed my cursor this morning so that it would be a little more visible for y'all. I hope that's the case. Okay. Now, I finally got this up. I apologize. I thought I had it up and available, but I wanted, it looked like it was a draft that we went over the first week of class. Is that correct? Yeah, no?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm asking about the, there we are, okay. I'm asking about the course outline. Didn't we go over that the first week of class with the draft from last semester?
We did.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
That's what I thought. But I noticed that I never did put up the revised one. And so here it is. I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. This outlines, by the way, the attendance. So Renata, let me see if I can, is that you on the iPad?
It is me.
Okay. Just want to get you now because this is what I want to cover right now, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let's scroll down. We covered all that stuff. So saying this participation, what I will be doing, and this varies a little bit from the first week of class because I wanted to make sure I was consistent everywhere, and I had already put it out to one other class. So class participation counts for 200 points, and if you look down into the syllabus on page 6 and 7, which I'm not going to do, I'm going to stay right here to maximize our time for covering the material. This is actually already in the policy, student policies for ULM, and always has been. So I'm just making sure that y'all are aware that this is not something I just decide to do. We have the discretion, as these policies describe, as instructors to make sure that we do attendance as we wish to do it. So we can call roll, or we can have you sign in, you know, just so that we're doing attendance. The way I've chosen to do it is to, given the COVID situation and having to be online at the regular scheduled class time, difficult for some, I've given you all the option of having at least 10 random roll calls that I'll do. And while I did not call your name, this counts for one because I've taken down the names, okay? And, oh Lord, I still have an error here on this.
So did the other days that we attended class, was those counted as one as well?
Yes, yes. The first week of class, I didn't take attendance really. I did not count that, okay? Mainly because I didn't record it. See, I can go back and verify attendance with recordings, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
The intent is to have 10 times that you at least during the semester have attended the class at 9 o'clock, either online or in the classroom on Tuesdays, at least 10 times at the time it's offered. The other time,
This a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday class. Will you be in class on either of those days?
I'll be in class on Mondays, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. The first day of the week that a class is offered is when we'll have in person in the classroom available.
Okay then. I was
Part of
just
what
checking.
part of what I told y'all is that I would assign y'all, or we would have a means for making sure that you rotate who comes into the class, because that's also part of our COVID policies as faculty that were distributed the beginning of last semester. So it took us till fall, after halfway through spring of 2020, for the whole university to get a handle on how we were going to do high flex and the way it was going to work out. And frankly, it was right to the week classes started. So we were all kind of trying to, okay, well, how are we doing this? So we've got it figured out now. Faculty can do attendance how they wish. We are encouraged to be flexible so that students who are unable to be exactly on time or have technological problems and can't be exactly on the time the class is scheduled are accommodated for. So I'm doing roll 10 times randomly, and those 10 times I will either call roll in class and count that, or I will look to see if you got on Zoom either day, Tuesday or Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, any day, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, at 9 o'clock. The objective is for you to be in class at the regularly scheduled time, but also to give you that flexibility in the event you can't make every single 9 o'clock class for whatever reason, okay? So I will look at this time four different reviews. I'll look at class participation logs available on Moodle one time each unit of the material. I found that trying to do that other ways was not conducive. I couldn't keep up with it. It was more work than I anticipated. But I believe this will work, that I can look at your reviews of spending time on readings and videos in the event that some of you are not able to be in class at the time some may be reviewed, okay? So that's what that means right there. You see that with my red cursor right there? It's supposed to be an arrow.
You're not sharing the screen, so we can't see it.
Oh, let me pull this over here. Can you see it now?
I can't. No, ma'am. I only
No,
can
ma'am.
see you.
Oh, okay, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, it's not letting me pull that up. Weird. Can you see it now?
No, ma'am.
How weird is that? All right, you need to look at the syllabus and see what I'm referencing, okay? So let me pull this back up since it's not working for whatever reason. Okay. It worked just like that yesterday and it was quite fine, so anyway. Okay, so make sure you look at the syllabus and you read that what I'm going over right now, okay? Again, I'm finding I'm probably going to have to do this for all the classes for the whole semester, and it's actually beneficial for me as well, and that is reinforcing that the class schedule, the way it's set up, is just like any normal semester for us as faculty, okay? We must be on our class times unless it's a university excused absence, or like for everybody, faculty and students and staff, like say the weather conditions that we had, but we were still doing Zoom, you know. We are as faculty required to be in our regular classes at our regular time, either in person, but also on Zoom at the same time. That's how it's supposed to work. And so you're going to have these classes available to you at this time frame, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You have the option to participate at the time the class occurs at least 10 times, and you can do it any day. Okay? But you can only come to class.
So it won't hurt us if we like miss a class or something like that. That's what you're saying, as long as we attend 10 before the semester is out.
Correct. You have to attend 10 live.
Yes, ma'am.
But you would do well to try to attend more than 10 at the time they're offered, because we have,
yes,
we have 15 weeks for check and roll. Well, 14 if you don't count break days, right?
And that's what, 3 times within 14
and that's
weeks?
30, wait, 15 weeks times 3 is 45.
45 class periods.
45 class periods, and I'm only going to check 10. So, you know, you would do well to make sure you try to attend as many as you can. Okay. But if you work it around your schedule, they're going to be recorded if you can't. Okay, Renata? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
So your cultural project, we'll have it. It's not available this week, so it will be available for you next week, because that's a correction I made too. And then make sure you check the grading scale and all of that. So we're going to scroll down to, well, I'm scrolling down to our conceptual framework, and we're still looking at the chapters 1 and 2. And I have notes that I'm working up that you might have noted before I wasn't able to share screen. Up from chapter 2. So what happened to my, there we go. All right, so I think we left off with the chapter 1, right? And we were talking about the purposes of Council of Social Work Education that they talk about on page 4. A great diagram that demonstrates how individuals on the micro level interact with organizations and institutions. The family is an institution, although it's not a legal or a legally structured institution. It is a socially structured institution, right? Not to be confused with the social welfare institution or the military institution or the government institution or the institution of our government. So those are formal. Social institutions are those that we are members of by birth or selectively. Oh, I wish I could see my little arrow. It's popping up, but you cannot see it. Can you now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yay!
Yes, ma'am, it's
Whatever I
popping.
did, it was my error, not theirs, I guess. Okay. Hold on, please. I gotta do my. I'm looking for a pause. I gotta do my heater off. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is an international perspective that I mentioned before. These are from the Council of Social Work Education for the United States. Other countries have social workers. I was looking at something for this class yesterday, as a matter of fact, on library, and I was looking for professional socialization, and I was really impressed because the articles about how we learn to be a professional social worker were from all over the world. I mean, it took me a while to find one from the United States. It was really quite amazing. So the expansion of social work profession throughout the world, and many of the areas like Russia, China, places you would not necessarily think have social workers, and are, it seems from just scanning the titles and abstracts of some of the articles I was looking at yesterday evening, it looks like they're not as far along as we are in the evolution of our profession in those countries. And so that's what they're talking about here. They talk about how it's practiced differently. Of course, they're going to relate in other countries to the culture and the government and the social norms that exist in those countries that vary, obviously, from ours in the United States. What we are most concerned about, though, that they talk about here in the International Association of Social Workers, International Association of Schools of Social Workers, I forgot what that other S was. What I'm most familiar with is the International Federation of Social Workers. That is, they have their conferences all over the world, which it mentions here in 2004. I can't remember when the last one was, but it was someplace exotic, Belgium maybe, I don't know. But there is this organization that's been around for ever since the late 1990s, actually, and has grown and expanded. So I haven't kept up with that one since we haven't been to conferences a lot due to funding issues in Jacksonville University in Alabama, where I taught prior to coming back to ULM. So we really have not been able, as faculty in that program or here at ULM, we haven't been able to go to certainly not international conferences because of the cost. Okay, but here are some core principles of the International Federation of Social Workers and schools of social work around the world. That here we have our social justice within our value system, that we're going to advocate around the world and have concern and share concern with social workers around the world and social welfare institutions around the world, how they address marginalized people, and particularly those who are oppressed, non-dominant populations. Now, be aware that when I use the term dominant versus non-dominant, dominant means majority population, non-dominant means minority population. That is inclusive. Minority populations are inclusive of people who are subject to exclusion, not necessarily intentional exclusion, but when it is, it's oppression, or less violent and less strict would be suppression, when there is not access or shared power among people who are non-dominant in any given population. So if we look at that regarding persons with disabilities, PWDs, in our disabilities class, how we address that more commonly today, that persons with disabilities did not have full rights and access to means of self-sufficiency, which most who had no cognitive impairments, but even some of those persons with disabilities with that particular disability of cognitive impairments had capacity for some level of self-sufficiency. Yet our society did not, in the United States, did not address that formally and require the public and employers to accommodate for that population until 1990 with the Adults with Disabilities Act that was signed into law by the first George Bush presidency. So, and I'm not talking about George W. Bush, the son, I'm talking about the father, Herbert W. Bush. So prior to that time, it was kind of hit or miss for people who say were in wheelchairs, whether you were going to be able to access a job because there were no accommodations. You couldn't get to your office if you were assigned that. And how were people discriminated against? Well, if you can't make it to the office or you can't make it to the site, you don't have transportation, or we don't have transportation in our organization. Say you have expertise in surveying for road construction, I don't know, and you're in a wheelchair. Maybe you're a veteran in a wheelchair who's had that experience, not only as a civilian prior to the military experience, but also military experience. You know, maybe you were at war and did surveying as part of your skill base and being in the military. Who knows? Now you're a civilian again. You've had wounds that have put you in the wheelchair. Prior to that time, 1990, if there was a business who said, well, you know, we really don't have any transportation. Do you have your own transportation to get to the job site? Whereas, and I know of these stories, whereas persons who were able-bodied did not have any kind of special needs like a wheelchair, would not be able to use company provided transportation because it was not adaptive. Now, here's a guy, veteran, good skills, you know, maybe he had great ratings. In this case, he did, and can't get a job because the company discriminates based on what they have available. So they're missing out on that person. Furthermore, that person becomes dependent on what everybody gripes about in the general public who are uninformed about our social welfare institution and what it does for us, not as a socialist nation, but as a democratic republic where we also address the well-being of our individual citizens, including those who have specific needs, like this gentleman in the wheelchair who had the skill base, just wanted to work and provide for his own self-sufficiency. So if you follow that, then you understand that oppression or suppression, in that case it was suppression, discrimination through suppression of the ability to go to work for that particular company because they were not equipped to allow that that potential employee in the wheelchair, veteran, to use company vehicles, and they weren't willing to adapt any vehicles for him or anybody else that might come along, you know. So that is inequitable. It means that it's not providing a level playing field. Is the company responsible for that? Well, according to that 1990 law, yeah, because now if they discriminate, they can lose funding. If we're talking about road construction, say a government's contracting a road construction company, say the government's contracting, the state is contracting that company to do road construction, and that road construction company needs a surveyor, and the best one to come through happens to be in a wheelchair, and they don't want to spend the money on the vehicle. Well, guess what? If they don't have adaptation, they're not going to get that government contract. And believe you me, government contracts fund a lot more people and a lot more jobs than people realize. And if anything was socialist, it would probably be that if we wanted to meet the exact definition of socialism, okay? But we don't, in the public eye, see that connection, and we don't acknowledge that those kinds of things occur. In chapter 2, we're going to see that the author states, and I have in our notes for that segment, next week, that the organizations like the government and passing law and so on don't really have an impact on the macro institutions that therefore impact our lives. And that's really not true. Organizations like government that contracts with that private provider, the businessman who runs his own business and contracts with the government, there really is a connection directly to the person I'm talking about in this example of justice, suppression, power that we have as persons who are non-dominant versus persons who are dominant. Okay. So internationally, we also want to address inequities and injustices that exist in society. We're going to talk a minute about different populations that are actually suffering genocide, like the Rohingya in Myanmar, still suffering, or the Uyghurs in China. Just heard a little report about them last night. So they are actually being coerced into detention centers in China. So, you know, that we're concerned about that as a population of social work professionals around the world. We want people to know how to get what they need. If let's see, Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC in Africa, country in Africa, continent of Africa. If it continues to war, different factions, tribal groups, and among itself, among the different tribal groups, and the government is inefficient and as has been in its past, in Darfur's past, is inefficient and actually corrupt, genuinely corrupt, then people in Darfur may not know how to get protection, may suffer famine because they can't get protection to get to food. Part of this number 4 is about that. It's about internationally, we are concerned as social workers, professional social workers, with that issue. People need to get what they need. They need to know where to get what they need in order to not starve, in order to not, in our country, let's deal with the more contemporary issue among industrialized advanced nations like ours. They need to know how to get assistance if they're thinking about depression, or I'm sorry, if they're thinking about suicide or homicide, or if they are homicidal. We need to alert that family if they're in that, if that is a threat that's been talked about in mental health counseling. And Darfur, do you think they're worried about mental health counseling there, or have very much of it? If they're, I'm not up with Darfur's history right now, but in their past, I know this was true. Do you think when they were warring, or in, oh geez, I'm thinking of Rwanda. In Rwanda, during those wars, famous movie was made about that, Hotel Rwanda. Horrendous violence that went on there among warring groups, one sponsored by the government, same for Darfur in more recent history from Rwanda. But yeah, those folk weren't worried about mental health and did not have access, furthermore, to mental health, because their corrupt government could care less, especially in Rwanda, where the president was, you know, lining his pockets and his walls with gold, right? So yeah, we're concerned about that in every country. And the reason for that comparison between Rwanda at that time and Darfur and some other poor and less advanced and industrialized countries, as say the United States and many European countries, and some South American countries, and some of the northwestern countries and border countries in Africa. So we're concerned about that, relevant to our own communities. If I don't run out of time, which I don't want to, I think I did last time, the idea of formulating and implementing policies and programs to enhance well-being, that we're not only concerned about how people can get to things they need, but we want to make sure we address needs that are unmet by creating programs, by creating policies to address those programs so that they work efficiently. That's what that's about. And so that they are also just, fair, and equitable, provide people what they need according to their need. I think I showed y'all that online picture. Wasn't that on Wednesday, the equity and equality, or was that another class? No comment? Y'all don't remember seeing the picture of the difference between equality and equity?
I don't think that's.
I don't believe you showed this class, no, ma'am.
Okay, great. Well, then I'm gonna, let me go pull that up real quick. I need to put that on every one of these sites. Dang, can't get to what I need. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Y'all know, most of y'all have had me already, you know that I can belabor a point, right? Ah, there's where I need to be. Yeah, there we go. Here's the one that is used in a lot of textbooks right now. Okay, let me move this over. Okay, well, there we go. Okay, y'all can see that?
No, ma'am.
Oh. Now can you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so here is an example of equality. Dr. Crenshaw, who wrote about intersectionality, uses this. I'm not sure if she actually developed it or not, but it's one that's commonly used, and she's referenced that. Let's see, I think we could probably even see that somewhere down here. I won't worry about that. But here's equality. Here are different people, okay? And here they're using size, right? So equality is no matter who you are or what your condition, you're provided the same stuff. That's the perception of equality. But equity says, wait a minute, this guy's got a lot more stuff already going on. Why should he get the same stuff that these folks are getting who don't have as much stuff going on? He can't, this kid can't even see, right? This guy can see everything. He can probably even see in the bullpen right there. This person can only see the field. This person can't see anything, but yet they're all getting the same size box. Is that fair? Or is it more fair that they each have the same view? This one doesn't need the support. This one needs a little support. This one needs a lot of support just to get to the same view as the person who has the resources within himself. That's equity. Questions about that? And it strikes me, it's very interesting that many people received the previous checks that went out, okay? And there were some, I know firsthand, there were some of us who didn't need it. There were some of us who needed it so bad that they were going to lose their homes if they didn't get it in time. Right?
Yes.
Those who didn't need it shouldn't have gotten it. But because it was just uniformly put out there, bam, we got to do something, let's do it. The government said, oh, we got to do this. And so they passed it and sent the money out. Everybody got it automatically or by check if you didn't get it automatically. But was that equal? I guess. But was it really fair? Was it equitable? No. And so if it's not equitable, did that cost us extra money? Did it increase that incredible billion, whatever it was, that now we're talking about $2 trillion bailouts. Shouldn't that 2 trillion be equitable to kind of reduce the cost? Or should it just be equal and let it rip? What do you think?
I'm not saying I agree one way or the other, but wasn't a part of that just to get money circulating through the economy again?
You're exactly right. That's exactly right. And, you know, think about this. I would add on to what you're saying. Those are great points. Could it be that, and I'm looking for Renata. She's called me out on me and being biased, because I just threw that out there as biased as could be. So Patty, that's good. You brought us back to balance. That's exactly right. It was to get money circulating in the economy so that the economy would not collapse. So equality then maybe wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe it was that these people who are able to keep their homes and maybe keep their cars so they can go to jobs if they still had them, or that they could survive if they lost their jobs because they had to be home because they had kids, for whatever reason, at least they were able to keep their house for a time and have a little money to take care of stuff. Like maybe their school, like my daughter's public school, required that parents buy the Chromebooks for them to do online teaching. You know?
They had to buy them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're just allowing, my son's school is like allowing us to rent them.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. Well, probably because she was in a pretty high class neighborhood in San Antonio, I'm guessing. So they probably thought, well, they can all afford it. So I don't know. I'm not saying that you're not, Patty. That came out totally wrong. Sorry.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Because that's how it should have been for everybody. You know what I mean? I think.
Yes, I agree with that.
in
I
that
don't
case-
think anyone should have been forced to purchase them.
Exactly, because, you know, equality, we don't know what the circumstances are here. Maybe this person's got credit out the yazoo and needed that help. Who knows, you know? So in any case, you're exactly right. And it was distributed so that the money could get circulating and we wouldn't end up in a major depression, which we were on the brink of. Not quite as much on the brink, by the way, as we were in 2008. And the reason is because we had a boon, you know, an expansion of our economy prior to that onslaught of the COVID situation that just blew everybody's economy around the world, especially in advanced countries like ours, potentially out, you know, just made it just almost collapse. So yeah, that equality then had a purpose for that $1,200 for everybody, no matter what your status was. But what about the needs? My house wasn't threatened. I had my job. I was able to work online. But then, Patty, you make me think, okay, so it comes to a policy issue. Was it better to rescue the economy and get money circulating at that period of time we went into a shutdown, rather than taking the time it would have taken, and it would have, to be able to set up criteria to screen who was going to get that money and who wasn't? So you make a good point, Patty. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But when we talk about social welfare programs, however, and we talk about how organizations and institutions treat people who are non-dominant, who have less power than dominant people do in a society, any given society, ours included, then there are those organizations and institutions that have a direct impact on our daily lives, on the individual, on the micro level, and their relationships. One is criminal justice system. If we treat everybody equally, for example, this person may be able to afford the best attorneys. This person may have to rely on a public defender. that's available to all of them equally. But this one doesn't use it because he knows he can pay on his own. You see? So should we put more money into better public defenders so this person can get treated the same as this one? Something to think about. Okay, so okay, let me get out of this. Now you just see Google, right? Are we back to the text now?
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Okay, so that's what we were talking about with all of number 5 and got off onto that. We want to concern ourselves with advocating on every level where we can influence policies that impact the lives of individuals everywhere around the world. This is shared with the International Federation of Social Workers and the International Association of Schools of Social Work, which this chapter introduces to you. That we advocate with institutions, we advocate with policy issues, to improve what people receive, to reduce those unintentional as well as in some countries intentional oppression and suppression and discrimination that occurs from both of those, severe or violent discrimination with oppression, unintentional or less, we could call it soft discrimination. In suppression, violent discrimination for oppression, soft violence or soft unintentional negative impact with suppression. Okay, that's number 9, and we are committed to at least supporting efforts of our colleagues with a knowledge of supporting those issues that we understand as a profession are beneficial and have positive impacts on the clients that we serve and the societies in which we all live, because we all benefit, even we as social workers, right? Now, how do we get to that point? How do we separate what we believe as a profession between our own personal ideas and philosophies and right to have attitudes about our various government actions, policies, and procedures that follow from laws that our government passes? You do have the right to self-determination and to believe what you want. You can even be a Republican, okay? The issue is that our emphasis on social justice issues and our concern with the individual well-being of citizens in any country with international perspective, certainly for us in the United States, with the all-American citizens, that those happen to be more democratic issues. And so as a result, our National Association of Social Workers reflects into our Council of Social Work Education, and we tend to advocate for those things that we as a profession agree by majority opinions that are expressed through NASW and CSWE by various means, communications that we make as a body to NASW, the National Association of Social Workers in the United States. Other countries have their own. So that's how we get to that point. So polls, we can, as social workers, if we disagree with our NASW or Council of Social Work Education, we can appeal to them just like we can to our legislators. So it doesn't matter what party you're in. If it's a Republican issue that's more beneficial to the well-being of people, we're going to address that with NASW if we see that they're just automatically knee-jerk going with the Democratic principle or issue on the same thing that Republicans have a different issue in, that we as a body out in the field believe is maybe not as good as NASW thinks. Okay, so just kind of bear that in mind. We engage in the political action. We try to work towards harmony, stability within societies and macro organizations that impact our clients. And we try to practice in ways where we respect the dignity and worth of the individual, social justice, commitment to service, commitment to our profession as experts who can help deliver all of the things that we've covered so far in the way that we talked about them today, and in how programs actually do deliver, create laws, filter down, as I said, been saying, to how we actually practice. So review those, and you should know those, and make sure you also look at this Maslow hierarchy of needs, because I mentioned that last time. Any questions? Because we're done. I don't want to run out of time like I did Wednesday and Monday, I think. Oof.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Renata. Okay. Going once.
You can even burn crazy calories doing the assignment, or push your body to the max in 30 minutes doing Insanity Max 30, and you will max out. That's over $1,200 a month.
Dr. Savage, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you I had this class that we have to do 30 hours of
Volunteer work.
volunteer work. Yeah. Do you know anyone that's accepting people? A lot of places that I was calling around, they not accepting people because of the COVID. Do you know anybody who is?
Have you tried the 211 system or called United Way?
I haven't.
Okay. In fact, the 211 system, I'm real disappointed. It's a information referral system that got started in the 90s and has evolved into all United Ways around the country, providing information and referral services. And that's what information referral is about. But call United Way of Northeast Louisiana, look up the number. You can also go online because they have a little, you have to really look for it. It's gotten much more complicated than it needs to be. But United Way keeps a roster of agencies looking for volunteers. And that would be your best bet, really.
Renata,
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
you could try the counseling center on that at the school. The lady told Miss Specs told me that I could try them. They told me that they'll talk with not Dr. Savage, Dr. Salisbury, and see what they could, have me come in and do. So you can maybe call them and see if they could get you a spot in too.
Do you have a number?
You could actually look it up right online, but let me look it up.
Sorry to hold you up, Dr. Savage. I just didn't know, and I knew she asked us to have it by next week.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 318.
Mm-hmm.
342.
Oh, sorry. I found the Jeopardy timer.
342.
Mm-hmm.
5678.
5678.
Yeah, you can see if they have any more positions open.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you
Okay.
repeat that number one more time? I'm sorry. I've been having issues getting somebody as well.
It's 318 342 5678.
I'm working at I'm doing the boys and girls like club, and they're always looking for more volunteers. So
do you have a number for them?
There's also Grace Place Ministries in Monroe. That's where I'm doing mine as well.
Let me look up.
Do you have Grace Place number?
Yes.
Renata, I can email you Boys and Girls Club number.
Okay, please do. Because y'all, I've been having a hard time.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop now unless anybody else has something else they want to add or offer assistance to Renata.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
About the Zoom meeting with Dr. Salisbury regarding the little thing, the little piece of paper we have to sign.
The what?
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what
for
you're
the
talking
social work
about.
thing.
Yeah.
Do I have to like email that to her, like somehow sign it and print it out and email it to her, or are we just gonna like say it over Zoom?
She want us to set up a Zoom appointment because I tried on yesterday
Yeah, that's on the
to discuss
25th,
it.
or I guess it's Monday.
Now, what class is that?
It's for like the social work program.
It's for the what?
Social work program. I'm sorry, my dog is playing.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. All right, we done?
Yes, ma'am. Y'all don't forget to email me, y'all, with the information if you can.
I sent it in the chat
I don't know how to go back to the chat once we get out of it.
oh, okay. Well,
Once
you
the
can
meeting-
you can also look up the name Grace Place and it brings up the number as well.
Okay then.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Have a good weekend.
Renata, look at the bottom of your screen. You should be able to see it right there. And if you can't find it, then look over at where it says more. You might have that because that's where, you know, I have to look.
Okay, I got it. 9702.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
9702, 318-361-9702. Thank you, Jaylee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye,
All
y'all.
right, bye.
Have a good weekend.
You too.